Let me show you how I use the power of red in resin art. It is vibrant and intense, but boy does it leave a great look behind for on your walls. Here's how to do it. Hi everybody, it's Janet here for Moonkusser Art. Welcome back to my channel. And I'm going to be working on a long canvas today. This is a 16 by 40, so it's pretty good size. I'm going to be batching up 40 ounces of resin to be able to ensure that I get good coverage on this. I've done all my prep. You might notice, maybe you won't, I think you might. I can see this is an old canvas of mine. It was a painting that I had done and just wasn't happy with it, so I went over it with spray paint and I've prepped it for doing my pour. And I'm just going to show you a little bit real quick here before we get going. I inserted one of my Lauan panels here on the back. I have a little support wedged underneath here to keep the board pressed up. A little bit of tape keeping it on, and these are my yogurt cups that I tape on, and they act as my legs to keep the canvas off of the table. One other thing you're going to notice is I have tape around the sides, not the sides, the back edge, and that's to help to make cleanup a little bit easier when it comes to the drips that are going to roll off of this. So let's get started and yeah, let's have some fun. All right, so let's begin by talking colors. This is FlowArt resin, their red pigment. And then we have System 3, really great pigment in brown. We also have Black Diamonds, blood red. And we have Hippie Crafters, burnt umber mica powder. And next up we have Artisue Creations, their orange spritz, which is a gel. And then we have some old pigment from Artisue and a mixture of Pearl Ex in there. And again, another one from Artisue, Pinata, and Pearl Ex. All the products will be listed in the description box with links, so check there if you didn't catch it in the video. Everything will be listed for you there. So we'll start out with our FlowArt resin pigment. This is their red, and I got this from the Epoxy resin store. Now you might be wondering, Janet, why are you pouring red on top of red? Well, it's because I want the red to really stand out in this piece, and even though I have painted the background almost precisely the same red color, I'm using the red and I'll be moving the resin, and I want the red to participate in getting the effects. It's spray painted so that I'm sure that I get a constant dark red across the entire canvas. So that's my reasoning behind that. And it just seals everything into place. So let's start putting the colors down, but yep, I forgot. I gotta pop my bubbles, so I stopped putting down the colors. Pop all those bubbles. Now we can come back, and I'm just adding puddles of color randomly. There's no laid out plan here as far as, you know, looking at the piece all together and deciding on where these puddles are going to go. Nope. I'm just putting them down wherever I feel like it, trying to put colors next to each other that I want to try to get effects blowing through. This is my favorite. This is that Black Diamonds blood red. It is a gorgeous color, and man, it gives some really great effects too. When I'm using mica powders, I always mix in some 91% alcohol, and that's going to help break up the mica powder. It helps it to mix in a little bit better with the resin. The resin that I'm using today is on the thicker side. It's meant to be a countertop resin, so it gets really thick. Popping the bubbles from adding those puddles there. And I thought I was going to do a tilt here, so I'm picking up the board, trying to move it. Really didn't get too much happening. I saw a spot here on the edge. I'm not trying to cover my edge, but I don't want to leave the canvas exposed on the top surface. I came back around and just coax that resin right over those edges. Again, coming back, using the torch, and you can see I'm lifting and pushing, but the resin is really thick. So it's not moving too much. And I have only about 20 minutes to work with this resin. So I turn to my hairdryer, and that's going to really push and move the resin fast. You can see that I'm able to heat it up with the blowtorch, and then I can really move it around big time using that blow dryer. I do have the heat on the blow dryer, so that's going to help keep it warm and let it move all around. You know, when I first started out working with resin, I did not have a heat gun. I only used a hairdryer to move my resin around. So I got kind of used to it back then, and I started using a heat gun, and of course love getting the results from a heat gun. So I went away from using my hairdryer, but I don't forget about the hairdryer. So added in a couple of puddles here to get a little bit more splash of color and interest, using the torch, getting it nice and hot, and then using that hairdryer to move it around. So I'm really getting wound down on my amount of time. I've got some spots here that I want to just tweak a little bit. Get a little splash of color in that area. Let it combine with that mica brown from Hippie Crafter. Looks good. And then we're going to move down to this end of the board. I'm going to put in a puddle of red because, again, I'm starting to get short on my time, and I want to make sure I have enough red resin on the board that I'm going to be able to move the colors and get those pigments to dance together and play nicely. I'm putting some of the colors down that I've gotten some great results out of so far on this board. Piling on the color. Need to get some interest up on this end. So I'll give it a good torch, hit it with the hairdryer, move it around real quick. Yeah, that looks good. Beautiful. Really getting some nice effects. Now I can tell it's slowing down, so getting out the heat gun. And again, I'm going to work with the torch and the heat gun. This is where I get some really great lacing, driving those colors through one another. The metallic golds, they just kind of take over and lift up and float up to the surface. Really opens up the color. I've got that nozzle tip on my Wagner heat gun. That's going to focus the area and the heat exactly where I want it. It's not going to be as wide as the normal opening on the heat gun, but using that nozzle tip really drives that resin in a focused area. Okay. Looks good. Can't get that to move too much, so I'm going to leave it be. And I'll put a little puddle of gold down here just to add a little interest in this corner. Blow it out with the heat gun. Looks good. Don't want it too much. And it's okay if it rolls right over the edge. I'm fine with that. Alright, it's time to let it rest. Setting out some spray paint cans. Those will be my table legs. I use this Polypro insulation panel board. That's going to be my cover. And then I'm going to drop over it a real thin sheet of plastic. It's a plastic paint drop cloth from Walmart. And that'll keep the dust. Good morning, everybody. It has been How long has it been? It's early in the morning. This is my favorite thing to do when I have been pouring the day before. Come downstairs and take a peek. Look at that shine on the top. All right, let's get that dust cover off and see what happened. Oh, look at that. That's so pretty. There's so much reflection down here. It's hard to get good shots of everything. You can see the gold, as always, just gorgeous. It's going to be a really nice piece for somebody that loves warm colors in their house. I'll have to take it outside. I think I'm going to get some sunshine today. So let's get this cleaned up. I'm going to show you real quick. This is my spreading tool. I got this from Art Resin. Can you see that on there? Art Resin. And the resin, this is hard plastic. It's a great little tool. It's got all these different serrated edges, so when you spread your resin, depending on the thickness of the resin, it just gets it all leveled out real quick. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Doubtful, but you can see it just kind of lifts right off the plastic easily. There, look at that. There's one side done. There it goes. Wow, I'm pretty good being one-handed. Anyway, just a little bit. I have to pop that off, but it comes off perfectly clean and ready to go for the next project. All right, let's clean up and get a look. All right, I've cleaned up the tabletop. I'm going to put on a pair of my nitrile gloves. One time, I left a fingerprint on fresh resin. So I put on gloves ever since then. That's all it takes. I'm not a slow learner, usually. Okay. Get those on there. And then we're going to clean up the back. So I had wax paper down on the tabletop just to make the cleanup really easy. It's kind of overkill because the resin doesn't stick to the plastic on my tabletop. These are from U-Haul, and they are meant to be for dishes and things like that. They're a pocket. It's a nice, excuse me, a nice foam. So what I do is I put them, let's get this out of the way for a second, lay them down here on my tabletop, and I try not to have like a ridge. I want them to lay flat. Then we're going to take this piece and we're going to flip it over. Lay it right there on that. Okay. Now, I'm going to pick up the whole tripod here for a second. Hold on. Woohoo! Okay, let's get a look over here. All right, see that? I don't want that. So I'm going to pick it up and shift it just a little bit more. Spinning you guys around. There. I want it like that. Okay? So that when I get my heat gun going, I'm not going to get anything on this side, because this will melt. If I put the heat gun to it, it's going to melt. And I love these things. I take good care of them. They work great. So, back up here. There we go. A couple of things we have to do here. Get these out from under. Just like that. Peel off the tape. It's holding that Lauan in place. This is 1/4 inch Lauan, so it's really lightweight and thick. It's important to store them so that they don't warp. You can see, maybe you can see, it just fits underneath the edge. So before the resin is poured, I can slide this along easily because the canvas is flexing a little bit. But it's just under the lip edge, so it's important to keep that in perfect place. Here, it is inside the lip edge, because, you know, it can't be too tight that you can't get it in there. But this one's nice because it only has the one middle brace, so you can slide it in from the end and get that. But before we do that, I'm going to get this tape off. So, take off my nozzle. And I'm going to put you on fast forward. I'm going to turn the heat on, and it doesn't need to be blowing fast. Medium heat is just fine to get this off. You can see I came down after an hour and I scraped the drips so that they're minimal. So this should come off really nice and clean. All right, the tape is all off. Let's get that Lauan out from the back. Pop it out, and let's go outside to get some video. Well, here it is, ablaze. It is a blaze of color. It is a really gorgeous red. It is vibrant. It is rich. This is going to look so great up on a wall. I can't wait to hang it up in my house. I hope somebody out there loves it just as much as I do. The mica powders just sparkle across the surface. You can make your own custom colors like I did, mixing the Artisue Gold Metallic with the Pearl Ex Aztec Gold. It just really makes nice combinations. You don't have to be stuck with just the color that you're taking out of the container. Play around with it, explore, use a hairdryer, use your heat gun, and by all means create something that you just love. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, all the products are listed in the description box if you're interested, and maybe even some coupon codes for you. Thanks for watching, and see you here next time on Moonkusser Art.